This is our podcast, where we belly flop into the bouncy house of mystery, surrounded by conspiracies and unexplained phenomena, with theories so bizarre, they may actually make you say,
"Are they thinking with their butt?" Hi, everybody. I'm Katie.
And I'm Chris.
And this is Stop Thinking with Your Butt. Welcome back. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming back for more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have any business to attend to?
Well, I do want to say I love the shirt you have on today. It has a lot of old, looks like raptors or dinosaurs.
I think it's a T-Rex with a word bubble that says "rar."
I think it's a raptor.
It does look like a velociraptor.
Or lizard people.
Lizard people. Because they're out there and they're Jewish.
Yes, they are. That's a horrible thing to say.
No, they're not Jewish. Well, they are Jewish.
Claimed by David Icke.
Yeah, David Icke claims that they're Jewish. But, okay, so remember how a few weeks ago I was talking about the failed prophecies of the apocalypse?
Yeah, a lot of them.
There was a lot of them. There was like 200.
Lot.
Yeah, okay. So you remember in the failed prophecies we came across Mary Bateman and the Hen of Leeds that you just really liked?
Yeah, that was a little disgusting.
Yeah, so, and then how her skin, after she was tried for a witch, apparently, so I looked more into it, she poisoned somebody, which ultimately led to her being tried as a witch and hung.
Oh, yeah, and then you start talking about she was flayed and
her skin was used to bind some books.
Yeah, that was interesting. And that was not that long ago. You would think that would be like the 1500s or something. That was
just
like, what,
1809.
1809.
1809.
That seems
It got me thinking about books bound in flesh.
Oh.
And then I was like, oh, the Book of the Dead.
Is that a real thing, or is that, I'm ignorant.
Oh, prepare to be
enlightened.
Disappointed.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm ready.
Well, okay, when I think of the Book of the Dead, I'm thinking of like
Ash versus Evil.
Yes, Ash versus the Evil Dead. But that's actually the Necronomicon, which I'll talk more about in a little bit. They are synonymous. Some people think of them as being two different books. Some people think of them as being the same book. Just
please tell me you found one that had the flesh of a demon and a flesh of an angel.
Oh.
I feel like if we're going to go all out, we might as well go all out.
If we're going to dip our toe in the crazy pool, let's just get wet. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Book of the Dead.
Okay, excited.
I was all excited because I'm like, oh, like dark magic. I'm thinking like, the movie The Mummy.
The Harry Potter.
Well, like, okay, that's why I'm so disappointed, because spells, when you think of like a spell book, I'm thinking like Alohomora. Mm-hmm. Wingardium Leviosa, Expecto Patronum. No, it's literally just talking. No magic wands involved.
Well, yeah, you have to summon something, right? You got to
I'll tell you about it. Okay. It's just words with intent. As long as you have the right intention set behind it, you can do anything.
Lay it out to me. I'm ready.
All right. So here we go. So the Book of the Dead. I went through some sources. I did some TED Talks. I got some TED education. Did some Britannica, some world history, some history of Clave, historic Aleve, Wikipedia, ancient Egypt history, so many history sites, and science.com, and others, but those are my main sources. So when we're talking about Egyptian mythology.
Oh, Egypt. Okay.
We're going back to ancient Egypt, the source of the Book of the Dead. The universe was a great chaotic ocean. From out of the ocean, there arose Ben.
Is this from the Book of the Dead or just about Egypt in general?
This is the origin stories of the Book of the Dead.
Okay.
So from out of the ocean, there arose Ben, which is a mound that comes out of the primordial waters.
Okay.
The mound, the Ben, is the top stone on pyramids. That top stone is the Ben. And they're everywhere. You can find them in museums all over the world. If a pyramid was erected, the top stone is the Ben.
Is it just called the Ben, or is there a unique property that separates it from the other stones?
It's called the Ben.
Oh, it's just called it.
It's kind of like...
I call it the topper.
The cake topper. So it's the Ben. And from this Ben, a lotus bloomed. Mm-hmm. And from the lotus came the god Ra. And Ra brought with him the sun. This is
That's
very
nice.
beautiful and ominous already, right? Are you with it?
I am.
Okay.
I haven't learned much about the Egyptian gods or culture. So,
Yeah. So Egyptian mythology. This is actually, I was actually really,
yeah, we would know the Greek.
I dove deep.
Go get it.
It starts off with like, what is this? And then like 30 minutes later, I'm like, membership fee for the Book of the Undead. Why isn't my PDF loading? Things like that. Ra came to the world very disgustingly. It's like this whole like story, like he splits his penis in two and it bleeds, and then his son and daughter are formed, and they become the earth and the sky.
Or their testicles.
No, and stop. Okay, and then and then
We're talking about it.
and then they go to explore the world, and he's very sad that they're gone. But when they return, he cries with happiness, and from his tears come mankind.
Wow. Okay.
So that's the kind of like the creation story in a nutshell. But then like all these, so it's like his children have children, and that's where the gods are coming from. The gods are just like his descendants, his creations. And that's where the pharaohs actually come from. The pharaohs of Egypt were supposedly the direct descendants of Ra.
So at this point, he's just creating other gods, right? Or is he also creating humans yet at this point?
His tears were the humans. His tears became man and woman, and then his children were the different gods, and they managed different parts. So it's like he had...
More than 5?
Ra created 2 children, and then his children had 4, and then so on and so forth. His grandchild ends up being Osiris, which is the lord of the underworld.
Yeah.
But I didn't go into all the mythology because it's so vast.
Yeah, and I'm assuming similar to like the Greek, when they have kids and their kids, all
And
of them
they're
are gods,
yes,
right?
it's like
It doesn't dilute.
Yeah, it's just gods upon gods upon gods upon gods. So Ra brings lightness to the world, and his children become the earth and the sky and all these other godlike aspects that pretty much control the world. It's Ra's duty and his responsibility to chase away the darkness. So throughout the day, he rides on his barge across the heavens, pretty much chasing the moon, like keeping the moon at bay.
Oh, chasing the moon. Okay.
Yeah. So every night, when the moon is rising and the sun is setting, or he's following the sun, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
He descends into the underworld. The sun barge now transforms into the evening barge known as the Ship of a Million Souls.
Okay.
And other gods would board his vessel and help him on his voyage through the underworld. And Ra would spend 12 hours each night traversing the various levels of hell, which is the underworld, and he would collect the souls of all the justified dead, all while being pursued by the giant serpent Apophis, the god of chaos and destruction, who tried to prevent the sun from rising every morning.
Wow, that would be scary if I was in a society where normally we're like, if there's one for certainty, the sun's coming up tomorrow. But yet, not here. No one.
Okay, when there was an eclipse, they shit their pants. They thought Apophis and Ra were at war, and that Ra might not survive. That's truly what they thought.
I can imagine that. That's scary.
Okay. So Apophis was the giant serpent trying to prevent the sun from rising every morning. So the gods on board would help fight off the serpent with the help of the justified dead, who I'll go into more in a little bit. So every night, Apophis attacks, and every night he's defeated. Ra and his crew sail on toward dawn, and the justified dead are delivered to their destination, who is Osiris, the lord of the underworld, who then ferries them to the field of reeds, which is paradise.
Yeah.
The Egyptians would see that the sunrise as a sign that Ra was again victorious, and the Egyptians would see another day.
Huzzah.
Huzzah! Who are the justified dead? So I'm going to tell you. But before I tell you,
You want me to guess?
you have to die.
Yeah, because only the dead know.
Yeah. Well, sort of. So
Don't tease me.
once you've passed away, your body must be mummified. The purpose of mummification is to preserve your body in its ideal form so that the spirit can reunite with it later.
Do they mummify everyone, or for some reason I just thought it was royalty?
So originally, the whole process, and I'm going to get into it, is over 70 days. And it was originally only reserved.
You're welcome.
Thanks, babe. Only reserved for the pharaohs, because it was originally thought that only the pharaohs could go to the field of reeds. Only the pharaohs could reach paradise because they were descendants of Ra.
What everyone else do? Just kind of
insert deflating balloon.
Yeah.
I don't know. But then
God, your life must have no meaning if you're way back in the day and that's what you thought.
Yeah. So, and then it goes on as time progresses. They're thinking, okay, well, everyone could make it to paradise if they can survive hell.
Huh. Okay.
Okay. So I'm getting,
that's why you have to die first. Okay. Got it. And then you got okay.
So, so mummification, all of your organs are removed except your heart. I thought everything. No. Nay. So the heart is the root of emotion, memory, and intelligence, and will be needed in the Hall of Truth, which is one of the trials of the underworld.
I think they got the memory part wrong.
Why?
Brain.
No, your heart remembers everything. My heart remembers all the time it's been hurt.
Okay.
My brain's for pooping. My head is where my poop hangs out.
Justified. Got it.
Yeah. Once all of your internal organs have been removed, your empty husk of a body is stuffed with salt and wrapped in resin-soaked linen. And sometimes the linen was inscribed with charms for protection.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, a scarab beetle amulet would be placed over your heart. And this comes into play later. It's a form of protection. So the process of mummification, like I said, it takes a mandatory of 70 days to complete. And originally it was reserved for pharaohs.
Yeah.
So it's like this huge procession. The Egyptians followed a really strict funeral text. How to get to the underworld.
Yeah, so I almost think of it as in the military we did a bunch of parades and processions and formalities and so on.
The ceremony's taking place, steps 1 through 75.
And that's just day one.
No, so these steps, they're called episodes. There's 75 episodes, and they all had to be executed precisely. Because all of these rituals and ceremonies and episodes were to help convince the gods that you were worthy of progression. So if they messed up, you were fucked.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why it was originally like, you had to be wealthy because you had to get the best of the best.
So here's the thing, right? If the only way that you can determine if you messed up the ceremony is if during the ceremony someone like stumbled on themselves. I'm wondering, what did they do to those?
They were probably executed.
Probably. That's
sucks.
horrible.
That's a lot of pressure.
That is a lot of pressure. I mean, and 70 days. How many people were killed on an average ceremony in 70 days?
Oh, okay. So you'll see. This is kind of fun. So some of them, it's their job to be there.
Wow.
So like executed, they got fired. Episodes 1 through 9. So like the rites of 1 through 9 are the preliminary rites. And these are the process for exactly how an individual passes through the separation process. It's the preparation of the body. It's the removing of the organs. It's the washing of the body. It's the wrapping up with the linens, it's etc. It's the preparation of the body. Yeah. Episodes 10 through 22 are the animation of the statue. And this involves the mouth opening ritual.
I'm intrigued.
This is going to get weird.
Sounds weird. Mouth ritual.
This is going to get weird. It's going to get weird. This is the most important ritual that can be done for the deceased. This ritual in particular will allow the deceased to regain all his senses and be able to live fully in the afterlife. It's called the ceremony of the opening of the mouth and eyes. The ritual required the reading of numerous spells by high priests, and then they sacrifice an ox, and they use professional mourners. Professional mourners would scream, cry, moan, and tear at their garments while desperately stroking their hair. Professional mourners.
I can see that. I can visualize that.
So I'm thinking of, in the movie Apocalypto.
Crisis actors.
Yeah, crisis actors. Or in the movie Apocalypto, when the tribes people are being brought to the Mayan temple for sacrifice, and you have all those crazy like people in their emerald jewelry like dancing and like.
Thank you for insulting an entire culture right there, but yes.
I wish there was a visual. No, it's accurate. It's accurate.
They're in a state.
They're in a state. In a state. And there's even some like
drug use.
Probably, because sometimes it says the priest would have to like fall into fits of hypnosis and like things like that. And I didn't get all into that stuff because it could just be on forever.
I get the visual.
Yeah,
right?
you get the visual.
Crazy and
you're into it. Yeah. You got to be into it. So it also involves, there's a use of number of tools that they have to use in order to keep the ceremony accurate. That includes an arm-shaped incense burner, a serpent-headed blade, numerous amulets, and an adze. And a peskahef. I don't know what a peskahef is, but an adze. That's from our favorite treasure hunting show.
I was going to say, that sounds very familiar.
It's like it's a carving tool. No, it's a carving tool.
Okay.
Or a stone cutting tool. Actually, maybe it is a sharpening tool.
I think it's a sharpening because they're finding the adze.
Yeah, they found adze all over the island. Anyway, so ancient tool. It was either the high priest, or if you couldn't afford one, the eldest son or someone close to you would pretty much cut open your mouth hole of your mummification wrappings and your eyes and like play with your eyes a few times, like open, close, open, close. There was records saying that you had to open and close your eyes 4 times.
I feel like it would dry rot at that. Well, I guess
probably.
Maybe not early on though.
I guess it depends on how early you start.
That makes sense now. Why in all these cartoons the mummies have eye slits?
Oh,
because it was part of the process.
It is part of the process. Yeah,
and the mouth.
Yeah, because without that, they wouldn't be able to speak, see, or hear in the underworld.
All my childhood cartoons make sense.
Makes sense now.
Yeah, they didn't make sense before. Now it did. Now it does.
So the ritual returned the deceased's senses, giving them the ability to receive offerings and communicate with gods in the underworld. If you couldn't afford to have the ritual performed, you could buy just this particular spell and have it recited for you during your funeral. How these spells work. Spoiler alert.
They require components?
There is no Book of the Dead.
What? Is it just the ritual?
It's rituals that are composed of up to 200 spells, and they're different for everybody. So there is books of the... Well, there's not a Book of the Dead. There's thousands of Books of the Dead, and they're different for everybody. They're individualized.
So the Books of the Dead are actually like, how do you send your dead off? Almost, right? And the ceremony for it.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you more about that in a second. So just kind of throwing that out there, but you could buy one spell, you can buy 200.
Yeah.
It just depends on your social status and what you can afford. But if you couldn't afford to have the ritual performed, you could have the ritual spoken or the spell spoken at your funeral, and it would, in sense, give you the same privileges in the underworld. And the spell goes, "My mouth is opened by Ta. My mouth's bonds are loosened by my city god. Thoth has come fully equipped with spells. He loosens the bonds of Seth from my mouth. Atum has given me my hands. They are placed as guardians. My mouth is given to me. My mouth is opened by Ta. With the chisel of metal with which he opened the mouth of the gods. I am Sekhemt Wadjet, who dwells in the west of heavens. I am Sayet among the souls of An." So that was a spell.
Do we have to like put a warning? Like, should I get some incense or something? Like, what's going to happen when we say all these spells? Does it only affect the dead people, right?
So yes. So that spell was supposed to give you the ability to speak and see and hear in the underworld.
Thank you for allowing all the ghosts that live in our house to speak.
Now be able to do that.
Yeah. Now they're going to communicate.
Oh, they're going to get more. They're going to get more in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to get crazy. Once the opening of the mouth ceremony had been completed and the deceased had regained their senses, Mua dancers would appear and perform a ritual dance to confirm that the funeral could continue.
Oh, so they're the confirming dancers.
The confirming dancers, confirmation dancers.
Nice.
So since the deceased was now...
Yeah, I really like that shuffle that you were doing.
Oh, my shimmy?
Yeah, your shimmy, your belly dancing shimmy almost.
That wasn't a belly dance. That was just a...
Well,
that was a Taco Bell shimmy. So since the deceased was now able to eat and drink, he was presented with a series of food offerings and a cup of water. So they would literally feed the body.
That's nice. 70 days. That gets pretty moldy.
So there are some instances. What is the actual animation of the statue is what the ceremony is called, or what this phase of the ritual is called. It happened both ways. It happened where they literally fed the mummy, the deceased, and there's record of they feed a statue that has been replicated in their image. In a lot of tombs, there will be, or even the sarcophagi will be resembling the person inside, and they will perform the ritual on the sarcophagus, not the mummy within.
Oh.
But sometimes they would do it on the mummy within. If they're, you get what you paid for. If you can't afford it, they're going to put ribs in your mouth.
What if these statues had like holes in it, or is it like a doll where it's like beep beep?
That's kind of
beep beep.
She ate her peas.
She pooped.
I don't know. So, but they would literally, if it was the statue or the mummy, whichever one they were using,
throw food at it.
They would feed and water it. So they would do that. There was a meat offering to align with Upper Egypt and a meat offering to align with Lower Egypt. And then there was the funerary meal for everyone that would they participate, like the last feast kind of a deal.
Yeah.
The Last Supper, if you will. Finally, after all that, they would clean the bandages around the deceased's mouth and eyes.
Like a napkin because of how messy they've been.
They would give a copy of a funerary text inside the coffin, which was then taken to the burial chamber. Now, what was this text that they put inside the coffin? The Book of the Dead.
Oh, what was?
Because the Book of the Dead is your cheat sheet on how to navigate the trials of the underworld.
Oh. How long was it? So I guess scrolls then.
And that's another misnomer. It's not a book, it's a scroll.
Yeah, it has to be a scroll.
It's a scroll. So there was a scribe.
Ah, that's what the book. So it's how to overcome your.
It's
underworld.
how to navigate. It's like your driver's manual for the DMV, but for the underworld.
They know what trials you go through. Oh,
it was all relayed to them from Ra.
Oh, that's right.
Because he goes to the underworld every night.
Yeah.
He passes it on to all of his sons and family. And who are the pharaohs? His sons, his offspring. So they know how to navigate. They know what to expect, and I'll tell you what to expect. Going back to so the Book of the Dead, it's all personalized. It's all individualized. So what you were supposed to do is before you were dying, or when you knew you were going to die, you were to go to a scribe who is like the most knowledgeable, the highest revered, whatever. What?
Whoever's in your local area.
Yeah. The guy on the corner.
Yeah, Egypt's pretty big. I wonder how many you have to go to, or do you have to go to like Egypt?
Well, you have to find these particular people. So
Egypt. That's
probably Egypt. So you'd have to find these like very knowledgeable, specific scribes. You would have to talk to them. You would have confer in them, be like, this is how I've lived my life. And they'd be like, oh shit, this is what you're going to encounter because this is how you've lived.
It reminds me of the Viking series where you have that one old priestess and they go there and like, tell me our future. And
exactly.
He's blind and crazy.
That's creepy. That's nice. So they would go to the scribe and they'd be like, this is how I lived my life. And then based off of how they've lived their life, they would determine what spells they would need to get through the afterlife.
That makes sense. That's why there's hundreds of different spells. That makes more sense.
That's why everybody's book is different, because not everybody has lived the same life.
Oh, okay.
And then it also depends on what you can afford. If you can only afford one spell, you're going to want to get spell number 125.
You might as well just not even go. Just stop.
Yeah. Okay, I'll get there. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Not a con, but like the upsell opportunity for those individuals. Oh, well, you can use this, but with one spell more.
Yeah.
You can make sure that he has +5 armor.
Yeah. Well, kind of. It was truly you get what you paid for. If you didn't have a lot of money, you got maybe one spell and it was like a half-assed spell. The drawings weren't very accurate. Some of the verbiage was off. The chances of you making it through were not very high.
Do you buy it yourself? I'm assuming your family does it.
No, you buy it yourself because it comes in your coffin. It's given to you when you pass.
Yeah, but you feel like the family would be involved in that.
Well, they have to make sure you get it.
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine all the betrayal
if they
The family's
didn't
like,
get it.
I don't like you.
Well, and the books of the dead are personalized. It has the person's name in it. So it's not like I can steal your book of the dead because it's going to have your name in it.
No, but like I just imagine a wife or a friend or something like that saying,
Oh,
screw this guy.
yeah, screw this guy. Walk in the
Good luck with 0 spills.
good walk. Yeah, walk the desert blindfolded with nothing. Yeah. I read in a couple accounts they found one mummified body that had a scroll that was 13 feet long.
Wow.
And then they found another body that had a scroll that was 78 feet long. And that was like a really wealthy. So it's like through the wealth and society, what you can afford is what you get to take with you. How much would you pay to get the answers to all the tests?
They're upselling so much, they're just making stuff up as they go. You probably only need 5 scrolls worth, 5 feet of scrolls, but
so the one that I was reading about had 78 feet worth of scroll. It's at the museum in Britain, I believe.
oh, nice.
The funeral episodes 72 through 75 are the closing rites. And for a pharaoh, this means that he would be placed into sarcophagus and moved into the burial chamber. For others, whatever their last resting place, it's just putting the body into its final resting place. And then the group, whoever was in charge of moving the sarcophagus or coffin or body, what have you, would erase their steps from the path as they left.
Yeah.
While this is all happening in the realm of the living, everything they're doing is to help a soul journey through the underworld.
Yeah, because it's going through the journey almost in real time to an extent while they're doing the ceremony.
With the mummification complete and the funeral now over, the soul can now enter final judgment. The spirit or the soul has to travel through the underworld called the Duat. And the Duat, it only has one entrance, and it can only be reached by traveling through the tomb of the deceased, which is described as a realm of vast caverns, lakes of fire, and magical gates, all guarded by fearsome beasts, snakes, crocodiles, and half-human monstrosities with names like He Who Dances in Blood. On top of the monsters, the crocodiles, the snakes, there's still the god Apophis, the god of destruction and chaos, who is constantly seeking you out, trying to destroy you. But if you were lucky enough to be buried with the Book of the Dead, your Book of the Dead, you will have a literal cheat sheet on how to navigate the world. So you should be good. You're fine.
Well, depending on how many spells you have within your book.
The spells available range from protection to navigating the underworld. A directory of all the gods you encountered was also available and how to address each one of them. Oh. The first set of spells are about preserving the parts of being, and that contains the opening of the mouth and eyes ritual.
Yeah, it's like preparing the bodies.
Right.
Okay.
The next section is protection from peril. And a couple of examples are spell number 32. The deceased takes on the identity of Ra and drives back 8 crocodiles with a spear.
Oh.
The spell is as follow. Get back, you crocodile of the west who lives on the unwearing stars. Detestation of you is in my belly, for I have absorbed the powers of Osiris, and I am Seth. Get back, you crocodile of the west. Thou nay snake is in my belly, and I have not given myself to you. Your flame will not be on me.
He sounds more like sermons than spells. It's just
That's
interesting.
why I was
Like when I think
I think of spells, I think of things levitating and flying, and
or the weird tongues, right? That you mentioned from Harry Potter or something. Not like a. It feels like it's almost like an exorcism.
Truthfully, I think these should be classified as utterances.
Utterances. That's
and not spells.
Yes.
But they are spells for whatever reason, but utterances are really what I think they are. Spell number 38 is a protection against hostile animals. Spell number 39 is a protection against snakes. And some of them are a little bit more obscure, like spell number 53 stops the dead from the fate of walking upside down.
They knew gravity back then. That's awesome.
Right? So the next section of spells or utterances is empowering to breathe and drink. So I guess if you want to eat and drink in the underworld, you have to have a spell that allows you to.
125? That seems pretty important if you have to do 70 days.
No. I'll get to 125. So 59 is giving the deceased the power to breathe air and to have power over water. Is it addressed to the sycamore or the fig tree, which is a symbol of the goddess Nut, and reads, "Oh, you sycamore of the sky, may there be given to me the air which is in it, for I am he who sought out the throne in the midst of the Wenyu," or Hermopolis, which is where Osiris is born. I have guarded this egg of the great cackler. If it grows, I grow. If it lives, I life. If it breathes air, I breathe air.
Cackler. I'm just thinking of an old crazy person.
I'm a cackler. I'm a cackler. Spell 63 is for drinking water and not being burnt by fire.
How many drinking water spells do you need? I mean, the conditions are so specific.
They are all very specific, which makes me think like...
Upsell.
No, I don't know. Spell 63 has two parts. The first part is for being able to drink water and not be burnt by fire, but then the second part prevents the owner from being scalded. So it's kind of hand in hand. The next section of ritual or spells is coming forth by day, getting power over your enemies, maintaining power over your enemies. Spell 68 is, may I have power in my heart. May I have power in my arms. May I have power in my legs. May I have power in my mouth. May I have power in all my members. May I have power over invocation offerings. May I have power over water, air, the waters, streams, riparian lands, men who would harm me, women who would harm me in the realm of the dead, those who would give orders to harm me upon the earth.
Is that 125?
No.
Oh my God, that sounds so...
Does that sound badass? Or?
That sounds way more important than, I want to drink water. And not get burnt by drinking hot water.
Yeah.
Right?
And so the next section of spells is on how to navigate the underworld. And spells 98 and 99 are incantations on how to allow the deceased to use ferry boats in the underworld. Because there's lakes of fire. And if they don't have the ability to cross, they won't get anywhere. So
it's like the Matrix. I know Kung Fu. Right? You just upload all the stuff that they need to know. And
then the next section of spells is how to handle judgment, which I'll get more into in a little bit. And then the next section is the journey in the underworld. These spells specifically...
How not to get depressed in the underworld.
No. It's all pretty depressing. But these spells in particular provide instructions on how to deal with supernatural entities.
Aliens. Let's go.
Supernatural entities who the deceased have to pass by on their way. Spell 127. Oh, you doorkeepers who guard your portals, who swallow souls and who gulp down the corpses of the dead who pass you by when they are allotted to the house of destruction. May you guide the deceased. You're supposed to put their name there. Mm-hmm. May you open the portals for him. May the earth open its caverns to him. May you make him triumphant over his enemies. That's pretty cool.
Open up the portals.
Every Book of the Dead is different. Mm-hmm. Every one is different. But almost all of them have a spell 125.
I'm ready for it because I want to hear what this is.
Spell 125. We're going to get more into it. It tells you how to address the 42 gods in the Hall of Truth.
So that's once you pass
it's all their names. There is a name for everyone. It's just part of the last step. Each god has a name. Each god has a different way to be addressed.
Don't mess it up.
Do not mess it up. This
like
is
the ceremony.
You do not mess this up.
You gotten through all that hell, got a raft, survived all those years, and now you go through all the names. You messed my name up? And you it's Anna, not Anna.
Yeah, I was going to say, It's Tiffany, not Tiffany. Yeah.
Banish.
Yeah. Almost all, I'll even get more into that in a minute, but almost all have a 125 because that is the most important. So the next section of spells helps you navigate gates, caverns, mounds, and guardians. Number 144 says the list of the names of all the creatures serving as keepers, guards, and announcers at each of the 7 gates of hell. Their names are...
They thought they had 7 gates as
fairly terrifying. I also heard that there's 12 levels of hell.
From the Egyptians or from others?
One source,
the first 7.
One source said that Ra would go through 12 hours of night, which he encountered the 12 layers of hell.
Oh.
But then here, this is saying that there's 7 gates of hell.
Gates and layers are different.
They are different. But in every source, hell is a vast labyrinth.
Yeah. Okay.
So it could be both. There could be 12 layers and then 7 different, and then there's caves and caverns everywhere.
Yeah.
Spell 144 lists the names of the creatures serving as keeper's guard and announcer of each of the 7 gates of hell. Their names are fairly terrifying. For instance, he who lives on snakes, or hippopotamus face raging of power.
That would be powerful. Hippopotamuses.
Hippopotamus face.
Hip.
I think hippopotamuses are adorable, though.
Yeah, but they're like the most dangerous.
They are the most deadly animal in the world.
Yeah.
By knowing these gates, the deceased can persuade them to let them through. To the guardians, the deceased will say, "Oh, you who keep the gates because of Osiris. Oh, you who guard them and who report the affairs of the two lands of Osiris every day. I know you and I know your names."
Do they ask riddles?
Maybe.
What is your favorite color?
Yeah. Blue, no, green, no. If
I want to spell the short answers.
Yeah.
Confidence.
If you are able to utter these spells correctly, the spell will ensure that the beasts will not drive you off or turn you away from the portals.
So far, all this sounds like you, as the undead, you get the list and you're using it while you're going through. Do they ever have in the ceremony the family member, whoever, priestess, reading the directions to the mummy, or they don't need to read
That's during the funeral rites, and that's only if they couldn't afford to have it in their Book of Dead.
Oh, okay. So it's either auditorial or it's
and the
written.
Auditory, I don't think was successful or considered to be successful. I don't know. That part was a little confusing. But in order for your soul to go through hell, you had to have a Book of the Dead, or you had to just, if you had an excellent memory, you wouldn't need a book. But who's going to remember all this?
My husband was so dumb.
He couldn't even navigate himself through one level of hell. Cornbread.
I love cornbread.
I do too. All right. And the last section of spells were protection spells. And I couldn't find any that were like clearly written out, but one of them was for a protection spell to protect you from not eating feces or drinking urine.
Why do you need a spell for that?
You're in hell. I guess it makes sense.
No, it doesn't. I don't. Again,
I just thought that was off the wall, but
this goes back to those poor Egyptians. If I would love to be a scribe. Oh, you know what you also need? Make sure that your toenails don't turn into caterpillars.
Sure? Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. If you don't,
That's
it's
a big
hell.
one. It's hell. If you don't, it's hell.
Yeah, your body is trying to fall apart or be one with the ground.
That's other spells. How to keep your body from falling apart.
Of course. See, look at it. We just need to brainstorm ideas, and we can get thousands.
How to keep sand out of your butt crack at the beach.
How to make sure your eyes don't close permanently. Well, I don't want his eyes closed.
Do you ever want peanut butter and jelly? The spell.
I would be making a killing.
Okay, there's a lot of holes. I agree. But it's all very fascinating.
The potential for corruption is what I'm getting at. Are the
Profiteering.
charlatans.
Charlatans and profiteering off of all this stuff.
Yep.
So upon your death, you would take... This is kind of a recap. So upon your death, you would take your personalized Book of the Dead with you to the underworld and traverse the obstacles, repel monster attacks, avoid Apophis, the giant snake. If you manage to do all that, you arrive at the Hall of Mahat, the goddess of truth.
Finally, I got here.
And this is where you will be judged by 42 assessor gods. This is spell number 125. This is where it comes in. You must convince the gods that you have lived a righteous life. You must approach each one and address them by name. Then, to each one, you must confess a sin you did not commit. And I'll explain. These were called negative confessions or declarations of innocence. I have never told a lie, and they would judge you. I have never made someone cry.
It's like a drinking game.
Okay, kind of. I've never stolen.
I've never pooped in someone's front yard.
This is where... Oh, yeah. Take a drink.
Stop it. No, that's totally fake. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Next. Continue.
A long pause there for laughter. However, I think it'd be really hard for people to come up with 42 things that they really, truly have never done.
Oh, they have to do that to every single one?
No, well, one to each of the gods. And each god has to be like yay or nay, like thumbs up, thumb down. Okay, so this is where the scarab over the heart comes in. So the scarab has a spell attached to it. And that spell reads something like, do not stand as a witness against me, meaning, heart, do not betray me, do not reveal the truth. And the spell reads, oh, my heart of my mother, oh, my heart of my mother, oh, my heart of my different forms, do not stand up as a witness against me, do not be opposed to me in the tribunal, do not be hostile towards me in the presence of the keeper of the balance, for you are my Ka, which is the soul, which was in my body, the protector who made my members hail. Go forth to the happy place whereto we speed. Do not make my name stink to the entourage who make men. Do not tell lies about me in the presence of the god. It is indeed well that you should hear.
Can you imagine if the god, and you're talking to him after going through all this stuff, and they look at the scabbard and they're gonna be like, that's
like, what's up with the scarab, right?
Or scarab, right?
Yeah.
It's like, that doesn't work.
So the scarab is supposed to be kind of like not necessarily a trick it's supposed to kind of like help you lie.
Yeah.
Like get you through the next level or whatever.
Did they have the spell that prevented the scarab necklace from falling off?
Probably. It's not a necklace, it's a brooch. It's like a pin.
Yeah, I get it, but you know how pins are.
Yeah.
You're going through the 7 layers of hell, or 7 gates of hell.
Well, so
that may fall off.
The scarab, it's on your mummified body. So I don't know if it's on your soul or if it's just like attached to you now in soul
with
form.
This, so that's why you need a spell to ensure
that
it doesn't fall off. Because if you fall down or get attacked and it drops off on you.
Yeah. If you manage to make it through the 42 assessor gods with your lying ways.
What's next?
The final phase, the final thing is the weighing of your heart. And this is why
you have to leave the heart in the mummy.
You leave the heart behind because Anubis has to weigh it against a pure ostrich feather. And if your heart heart is heavier than the feather, it's because you are weighed down by wrongdoings that you have committed.
Wow, going through all of that just to trip at the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
An ostrich feather.
If your heart proves to be too heavy, it will be devoured by the monstrous god Amit, who is part crocodile, part leopard, and part hippopotamus, and you will cease to exist forever.
That's a lot of stress.
That's a lot of stress.
That's a lot of stress.
That's balls deep stress. That's stress.
It's a unique phrase.
What? That?
Balls deep stress. Where did that come from?
I don't know. It felt right.
Okay, yes.
It felt right. It just came out of my face.
Nice.
However, if your heart is judged to be pure, Ra, the god of sun, will come and take you to Osiris, the god of the underworld. Osiris is Ra's grandchild.
Where's the spell that just makes your heart lighter than a
feather?
Yeah. I mean, you have one that helps you lie.
Yeah.
Hides the truth from the gods.
Osiris, or the god of the underworld, will give you the final approval. So there's still a chance.
So many.
There's still a chance you're not going to make it. So he's the final. And if he approves you, he will row you across Lily Lake to the field of reeds, or paradise.
Finally.
And you're there.
You get there.
So paradise was believed to be a mere image of the life you left behind. Which I'm kind of like, fuck that!
This is where I go to?
Okay, it gets better. You will find your home just as you had left it and be reunited with any loved ones who had passed before you. Everything you ever enjoyed, down to the finest detail, would be awaiting you. Favorite tree, plant, flower, pet, food, beer, and you could pursue any hobby you ever wanted.
Yeah, but all your family members may not be as pure as you.
They may not be there.
That's messed up. You're all alone.
You're all...
You and that one guy you just... Come on. Steve. How'd you make it through?
In keeping with paradise being a mirror image of the life you previously led, you still have to tend to your land. There's still work that needs to be done. You have to sow your fields and reap your crops. That's why you were given the opportunity to be buried with a Shapti doll if you could afford one. A Shapti doll would be placed inside the tomb with you, and these dolls would do your work for you in the afterlife.
I thought they sacrificed the pharaoh's wife to go with you in the afterlife.
Maybe. To do your dirty work, to reap your lands and fields?
I don't know. Well, some of them, they actually sacrifice servants too.
Yeah.
That makes more sense, because maybe it's, I don't know if you get through, then your wife can also get through.
Oh, I
if
don't
they travel
know.
with you. Right?
I thought that the sacrifice was like incentive, because they would also sacrifice an ox and put treasures in your tomb. Because I think that you could take those with you to the afterlife. Yeah. That's what they were saying. You can take your prosperity with you.
That's why I'm telling you. I'm telling you here. I'm no research and backing to go on. I believe that you have the services. That makes more sense if they thought that you had to actually do your land and do all this.
Yeah,
work
you
yourself.
have to. It's your life mirrored, just minus pain and suffering, pretty much.
How many of the wives would you take?
However many I can fit in my coffin.
There you go.
Coffin party.
Coffin party. I don't think they have to be in the coffin. I think they typically are in the tomb, and they just
alive. Were they buried alive?
Either that, or they're just,
or they just killed and mummified,
or just killed and stacked.
Oh, good. My other wife has arrived. Please put her on the pile. Oh, that's very sad.
No, that's bad.
That's really upsetting.
Or you spike them so that they're at least upright.
Give them their favorite broom to be propped up against. Because they're going to need it in the afterlife.
Hey.
You need a wife, a mop wife, a broom wife, a plow wife.
Apparently that's your opinion of wives. That is servant work.
Gosh. Okay, so the spell for causing the Shakti to do the work for the man in the realm of the dead is, O Shakti allotted to me, if I be summoned or if I be detailed to do any work which has to be done in the realm of the dead, if indeed obstacles are implanted for you therewith as a man at his duties, you shall detail yourself for me on every occasion of making able the fields, of flooding the banks, or of conveying sand from east to west. Here I am, you shall say.
Not only do they get you for spells, now they get you for objects too.
Mm-hmm. You need your Shakti dolls.
You need your brooch. You need your
and,
doll.
Okay, so that's, again, the wealthier you are, the more possessions you have. If it's a mirror image, the more Shakti dolls you need.
I just like real servants.
Yeah. In summary. So you've made it to the afterlife.
Yeah.
You're sowing your land. You're reaping. Okay. In summary, there's no Book of the Dead. There's thousands of Books of the Dead.
I never knew that.
And they're not books, they're scrolls. Does this all make sense now, though? It's kind of like,
I never deep dive that before. So.
I wanted it to be a book with a face on it that cried when I opened it.
I know, like dreams, right?
Yeah.
A little disappointing, but still interesting.
Yeah. We're not done yet because there's still the Necronomicon.
Is that part of the Egyptian, or is that just a complete separate?
That's separate. Okay. But it's also known as the Book of the Dead.
Okay.
So I was like, I was looking at the
You're a little bit unsatisfied.
I was reading the Book of the Dead. I'm like, oh, that guy. Where's the one that brings Brendan Fraser into the desert? That's what I was thinking.
I mean, it's also in what Call of Cthulhu and everything else, right? It's pretty famous.
The Necronomicon.
Tell me about it.
Or the Book of the Dead is bound in leather. Some people say, well, okay, so it said it's bound in leather, but
that's lame. The
Book of the Dead was not bound in skin, because there wasn't a book, and it was a scroll. When I was reading about Mary Bateman and how her skin was used to bind books, I'm like, where are these books? Mm-hmm. I wanted to find books bound in human skin.
Yeah, eBay.
Yeah. No, they've all been frauded. Yeah. Binding books in human skin was actually not uncommon. I thought it was like a rare, weird thing. Nope. Apparently it was common, and there's even a term for it, termed anthropodermic bibliopagy.
There you go. I like that. That sounds legit.
The binding of books in human skin has occurred at least since the 16th century. The confessions of criminals were occasionally bound in the skin of the convicted, or an individual might request to be memorialized for family or lovers in the form of a book.
Would do you want that? If I died, I said in my will or something like that,
I want you to make a pillowcase out of my skin.
Yeah. Or a sheet. Like a comforter. Like a small
steering wheel cover.
Ooh. Yeah, that's disgusting. I don't know if I would want that. A pillow with your hair as the lace around it.
No, like the fringe on each
fringe.
side.
Yeah. That's disgusting.
Where would my belly button go?
In the middle, because clearly.
You know how like some pillows are like ergonomic and they like dip in the middle? Belly button.
Mm-hmm.
Can my butt crack be on the backside?
I was going to say armpit.
Fantastic.
Ooh, I
hope the hair still grows and you have to like shave my armpit every once in a while.
No.
Okay, so but I wasn't satisfied with that.
Criminals.
I was like, I want the Book of Spells. I want the Necronomicon. I want the Book of the Dead. I want the actual raise the dead from the ground and have them be my army and whatever. Blah, blah. The Necronomicon is said to be a book bound in human flesh and inked in blood. A book filled with spells to raise the dead and summon ancient creatures.
See, there you go.
The Necronomicon inflicts insanity and even death upon the readers. That's what I'm talking about. Bring it. Yeah.
Get me enticed.
So the Necronomicon can be described as an ancient text compiled by Abdul al-Hazred, also called the Mad Arab, in the 8th century, containing magical spells and incantations for summoning monsters and archaic deities.
What time frame was that?
1927, because it was made up by H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh my gosh. That makes sense. Call of Cthulhu. Yeah,
Call of Cthulhu. It's the Necronomicon is fabricated by H.P. Lovecraft.
Hey, that's like you trying to look for the one ring to rule them all.
Yeah, that's what I was on a quest and I didn't even realize it.
Fiction.
I said 1927. I meant 1924. H.P. Lovecraft and his followers fantasize about this fictional grimoire. It was first mentioned in Lovecraft's 1924 short story, The Hound, though it is purported that the author is the Mad Arab, Abdul al-Hazred. The Mad Arab was mentioned in an earlier work from Lovecraft called The Nameless City. So and I didn't know this about Lovecraft, but he's a lot like Stephen King in the sense where like he built his own world. Mm-hmm. He'll reference cities. Arkham. Yeah. Doesn't exist, but he created that Arkham.
Yeah, and it's probably continuous in all of his other
exactly.
stories. Yeah.
And then same with like Stephen King. He has Castle Rock and Shawshank Redemption. The Shawshank Prison is in the city of, I think, Castle Rock, or at least they all overlap.
It's all in the same world.
They all overlap. Like, yeah. So he was the same. He's the same. So I don't know if Stephen King was inspired by him or if it was, there's no original thought left in the world. So they could have each had their own independent thought and it just coincidentally were very similar. H.P. Lovecraft, his theory was open world sharing. Yeah. So he would encourage other people to use things that he was writing about and likewise in exchange. Yeah. So other people were using the Necronomicon in their writing, and it just became this like string of, well, if one person's writing about it and 10 people are writing about it, it must be a real thing because all these people are referencing it.
Or they're, just like dragons. Well, is there any historical reasons for dragons?
Right. Okay. So Lovecraft was often asked about the Necronomicon. Mm-hmm. Where'd it come from? Is it real? Because people were insisting it was real.
Yeah, Illuminati.
So H.P. Lovecraft came out and said that, now, this is a quote, about the terrible and forbidden books, I am forced to say that most of them are purely imaginary. I think he said most of them are purely imaginary. There never was an Abdul al-Hazred or Necronomicon, for I invented these names myself. As for seriously written books on dark, occult, and supernatural themes, in all truth, they don't amount to much. That is why it's more fun to invent mythical works like the Necronomicon and the Book of Eben. Now we get into theory time.
Santa's not real.
Mm-hmm. It was very disappointing, except that there's a deeper, darker theory. Oh. There's a theory that H.P. Lovecraft was part of the Rosicrucians.
I just thrown them off the trail.
And they have texts that will allow them to communicate to ancient deities. The theory is that the Necronomicon is true.
It's like the quest for the Holy Grail, but...
Yeah. And I came across this. I thought this was interesting. So I was like, Necronomicon. I was like, I gotta find it. Couldn't find it, but I came across this. How do I power my Necronomicon?
Oh, you found that on Google?
And I was like, I wrote, what the fuck? In order to craft the energy pedestal that allows you to charge your Necronomicon for use in rituals, you need 7 monolith stones, 1 full shadow gem, and 1 coryllium pearl.
I have a shadow mirror.
But you also need the Minecraft mod pack.
Oh.
With content and progression.
That makes sense. It's all Minecraft.
Oh, they got me.
Oh, babe.
Yeah. We should talk to our son about it.
We should talk to our son about it.
He probably knows. He probably has 10 of them.
We should ask him if he ever had that book. He plays Minecraft all the time.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the end of that. What'd you think?
Well, I thought the Egyptian thing was very interesting. I couldn't get out that just the upsell and the constant charlatans who could take advantage of someone who
buy 2 get 1 free,
who truly believes and truly is in that situation. Put him in a situation where it's, how much do you really, really love him? That's
how much do you have? How much can you afford? Can you sell anything?
That's super stressful. I think, yeah. I bet you there was probably a lot of people who just vanished so that they didn't even do a ceremony, because once they find out that your husband died or someone else died, they'll be like, oh, here we are. You look at this laundry list of things that we can get you.
Pick some spells.
Yeah. If they don't even want to deal with it, they're just like,
want to buy a spell?
He abandoned us. So then now no one's going to come to them to try to do the burial.
Oh, you're thinking like burial scams.
Not burial scams. Like if I was a spouse, or if I didn't want to go through the spend my entire life's fortune on you
70
departing,
days,
I would just say he went missing.
You wouldn't want them to go to the afterlife?
Who knows if he's dead? I just woke up one day and he was no longer at the house. Oh where?
Poor me, alone in my paradise on earth without him.
Them. I'm just thinking, I don't know, just the whole cost thing. But I think it's very interesting that the spells. I like the utterances.
I don't know how motivated I am to get to the afterlife if I still have to work my land.
I think you just killed all motivation.
I would
think of the trials that you have to go through just to have like a 10% chance of even getting through that. If
not even a 10% chance,
that's
like a
high.
0.01% chance.
You might as well just, you know what I'm saying? That's why it's like,
why only gods and pharaohs go to the afterlife, because they can afford to have all the utterances.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Oh,
all right, everybody. Don't forget to have a copy of utterance number 125 in your wallet.
I personally like the one that made you a superhero. that one, I'm like, I think it was 65 or something like that, where it's like
overcoming your enemy.
You know, it's like, give me power over everything. Like my enemy, over water, over sun,
like
under
steroids.
Gods. I'm like, oh, well, that's clearly the one I want.
All mine would be very lazy. It would be like, where's the one that prevents me from having to walk around here? Where's the one that turns this road into an escalator?
I want the one that makes me sleepy.
I want the spell that gets me the hell out of here. 1, 2, skip a few paradise.
Okay.
Spotty dolls. Shopty dolls.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Sorry you're a little disappointed.
Yeah. Anyway.
But I learned a lot, so thank you.
All right, everybody.
Yep, thanks for joining us.
Listen with your gut.
And not
Stop
your butt.
thinking with your butt. Keep a copy of Spell 125 in your wallet at all times, just in case.
65 is my go-to.
We'll see you next time.
See you.
Bye. Anthropodermic bibliopegy.
I want to visualize it. It's
Anthropodermic bibliopegy.
Nice.
Anthropomorphic bibliopegy. Damn it. Anthropodermic bibliopegy. Bibliopegy.
I don't know if I want to just keep listening to you try to pronounce that.
Anthropodermic. Okay.